Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Daily Fantasy Digest Podcast, the all-inclusive podcast where we talk all things fantasy sports to help give you an edge. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Bewer, and I'm going to be breaking down this May 29th 9-game slate on Wednesday. It's been a few days since we did a breakdown, so I want to go ahead and jump right into this, get this short and sweet, get all this information out to you guys early. I'm going to go ahead and go over some pitching and bat stacks that I think that are going to be overlooked tomorrow, and going to be able to give you guys some edge when making those lineups. So let's jump right into some pitching. You'll notice right off the bat we got only one person over 10K, and it's by a large amount tomorrow, and it's quite understandable. Not only by the performance of Blake Snell, but the matchup. It's quite outrageous, to be honest. Blake Snell has been absolutely insane this year, 22.1 fantasy points per game with a 3.07 ERA with 78 Ks. Just been on, as you can see, the fantasy points per game. Had one slip up here against Kansas City, but past 4 games has really just gotten back into the element that he was before. So he's definitely going to be in cash games, just the most chalkiest pitcher tomorrow. There's no doubt about it. I see him being 80 to 90% owned in most cash game contests, and that's somebody that you're going to want to go to at all costs tomorrow, just to make sure that you're getting a piece of that action. Another pitcher, I think today's going to be a pitching slate. I really do. I think you're going to have to find some value in some low-priced guys. It's going to be really tough. Seeing as that there's one bat stack that's going to be chalky in probably one of the greatest spots of the night. But I think you can find some value elsewhere. That's why my SP2 is going to be Madison Bumgarner. I think going up against Miami is just an incredible matchup for Bumgarner, who's been incredible this season, kind of coming back into his old form as of late. Sporting some pretty decent numbers. 4.1 ERA with 17.6 fantasy points per game. I think for cash games, these two guys are just going to be incredible options for tomorrow. And I know that recently the kind of trend is to pick mid-price pitchers and kind of predict who's going to go off. But I don't think that there's too many tomorrow that are going to really be able to. You're going to really be able to predict how well they're going to pitch. But there are 2 guys. I'm going to give you 2 GPP plays that I think that kind of stick out for me as really good options. I want to go first with Pablo Lopez going up against the Giants. Pablo Lopez has been scary this year, on and off. And I think that going up against the second lowest scoring team in the league in the Giants, and Pablo Lopez is at home where he pitches way better, I think that tomorrow it's going to be a great option. So judging just for the sake of this video, as I will be playing more GPPs than cash tomorrow, I will go with my GPP part of the lineup tomorrow. I would pick Bumgarner and cash. If you're going to go, I would go with the 2 top pitchers because I think they're in the best spots. But for the sake of this video, Snell and Lopez, this is how my pitching is going to look come lock tomorrow. I think this makes the most sense as Pablo Lopez is 6,600 at home going up against the second lowest scoring offense in the league, which doesn't seem correct to me as far as price. So I think that this is more of a price play for me. And I think he's going to be able to have some sort of upside as we've seen in his recent games. Another play that's quite scary for me that I don't think I'm going to play in any of the lineups that I play tomorrow is Reynaldo Lopez. I think that his K upside just provides some desire. Past games, we've seen 10-plus Ks before this season. We've seen a 14K game here. We've seen a 28.9 fantasy point game here 2 games ago. So I think that there is some upside here going up against Kansas City. But this game does have some potential weather concern as the weather in Chicago is pretty terrible at this time. So those are going to be the 4 pitchers that I'm really looking at tomorrow. I'm not going to really target any of these mid-tier pitchers because I just don't think the matchups are really there at all. I think that most of these games are going to be hitting games, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Buehler, and I'm not a big fan of Syndergaard tomorrow. I just don't think that the matchups and the pricing really just concerns me that a few games ago Syndergaard was almost 11K. Buehler was over 10K, and now the pitching has just regressed so much, and something seems fishy to me, so I'm going to go ahead with a high-priced and a value play. Gives me roughly $4,000 per player. To jump over to these bat stacks. First stack that I want to talk about, arguably the best stack, in my opinion, is going to be Baltimore going up against Ryan Carpenter. I think that this spot is going to be overlooked due to Coors Field being on the slate. Like every other bat stack is when Coors is on the slate. But there's some really sneaky plays that I like in here and seem a little bit overpriced. Biggest play for me is Hanser Alberto. It's been hitting leadoff as of recent. It's just been on an absolute tear. Going in against Ryan Carpenter is just going to be an easy plug and play for me. I think that he's just an easy lock for me, as well as Keon Broxton going up against the lefty and Ryan Carpenter, who's been hitting absolutely incredible lately. I think these two guys are just plays that you have to lock into your lineup going up against a righty and Carpenter, who has just been on an absolute tear lately, supporting an 8 ERA on the road. So I think this is just a great matchup for them. I'm a big fan of Mancini. I'm a big fan of VR. But as Mancini's hitting woes have, he just hasn't been the same home run hitter that he was earlier this season prior to the injury. So I'm going to fade Mancini here. VR is a great play for me. I think he's just incredible. I think he is definitely in play for me here, but I'm just looking elsewhere at that position. Moving on to the next cash game bat stack that I'm going to have, and it's going to be this later game, Arizona. I'm going to subject to Coors Field here today, but I'm not going to go on the side of Colorado. Arizona supports is just an incredible matchup going up against Hoffman. Everybody is just so overpriced here today, but I think you're going to have to get a piece of some of the action, and that's leads me to really like catcher Alex Avila, lefty, going up against the righty and Hoffman, who I think is just a great matchup on paper. I think that Avila, his hitting woes has been apparent, but he does have that power, and hitting from the left side of the plate just really gives you that upside that I'm really looking for tomorrow. I am a big fan of Escobar and Ketel Marte, but it's going to be a little bit hard to fit in with the Baltimore players that I'm looking for, and just everybody on Arizona being so overpriced. So if you're going to want to stack Arizona for Coors tomorrow, you're going to have to drop Blake Snell off and pick somebody lower priced. There's just going to be no way. You're either all in on Coors games or you're all out. I'm just going to have a piece of the action tomorrow with Alex Avila, but I am a big fan of Dyson, who has incredible stolen base upside, Escobar, power hitter, and Ketel Marte, who's just a double machine. So I think that's a great spot tomorrow, but I'm going to take a piece of the action and run away in this case. Last stack for me, if the game doesn't get rained out, which right now it's cloudy, I'm a big fan of the White Sox going up against Glenn Sparkman. There's a few players here that are just really low price. Love Lurie Garcia and love Eloy Jimenez. I think that both of those players are just incredible plays tomorrow and are going to get overlooked, as well as Yoan Moncada. I think that all three of these guys are in play tomorrow up against Sparkman, who is just absolutely terrible. If we go over here and we just go down and look at the numbers, Sparkman has been nothing to desire this year, but really hasn't gotten to pitch out too much. We know Sparkman's numbers from last year. He's a big fan of the negative numbers here. So to me, Sparkman is just a good player that I want to target. To me, the White Sox aren't a cash game play for me. This is more of a GPP option. If we're gonna go cash lineup, I'm going to incorporate a lot more of these Baltimore hitters here. I'm going to lock in VR and probably Steve Wilkerson here as well. And then I will go to the White Sox, and I think Jimenez is an incredible play. For cash games, this is most likely what my lineup is going to look like come lock tomorrow. Big fan of Baltimore. I think a 4-stack here makes the most sense going up against Carpenter. If we just want to go ahead and look over here to Carpenter's numbers. He's 5.4K for a reason, 9 ERA. This game here against the Mets had to be some sort of fluke because it's been nothing but negatives this whole year, giving up 7 runs and then 6 on 9 and 7 hits. The lefty hitter is just going to be no match for Baltimore in the righty power. And I think that this stack is going to be very, very much so overlooked with everybody else on the slate. So at this point, like I said, Baltimore is going to be the greatest stack for me. I think that White Sox offer some value in Eloy Jimenez. I think he's underpriced for how good of a matchup that he actually has against Sparkman. And then Avila, that lefty catcher, going up against Colorado. If you don't want to go Avila, you can go Pedro Severino from Baltimore just to save some salary. But this is most likely roughly what my lineup is going to look like come lock tomorrow. And always, don't forget, on this podcast, we do a Dinger of the Day, where we go ahead and call out one person that's going to hit a homer. And if we're right, then it's absolutely incredible. If we're wrong, then it sucks. So last time, I know we had Gleyber Torres, who hit 2. Then we followed up with Mike Trout, who had a few doubles, didn't necessarily hit a homer, but did have quite a decent fantasy point game. Tomorrow I'm going to go with my dinger call in Jonathan Villar at 4,900, going up against Ryan Carpenter. I think he's just in an incredible spot, and he's been hitting out of his mind lately. That's going to be my dinger of the day call and the thumbnail of this video. If you did go ahead and enjoy this breakdown, I'd really appreciate you subscribing to the channel as well as subscribing on Apple Podcasts. Leave a like if you wouldn't mind. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at FantasyDigest_. You can go ahead and see all the plays that we're looking at as well as the videos that we tweet out when they are posted. So that's going to be it for this breakdown. Stay tuned for more updates throughout the week as well as an interview. And until next time, peace.